Bob Iger took the stage at the Morgan Stanley conference in order to set investors' minds at ease, and he let slip a little detail that we found astounding, that he has watched all of Disney's recent movies at least 5 times. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter, and here with me is an avid watcher of films, Mr. Culture Casino. Culture, how many times do you watch movies?
Usually 1 or 2 times, to do a review, but I over the years I might watch them 4 or 5 times. Maybe we'll see. But
I mean, if
really
we're
good
talking
movies.
Star Wars or Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Many times.
Yeah. But
what about the Haunted Mansion?
Probably not once. Probably not once.
Well, let's talk about Bob Iger and how often he watches things. Look at this at a deadline. Disney has killed a few projects amid studio overhaul, says Bob Iger. We've not been that public about it. This by Jill Goldsmith here. There's Bob Iger, and Disney CEO Bob Iger said the studio has killed a few projects already that we just didn't feel were strong enough as the company tries to reverse a box office slump. Iger says, we're doing a lot. When we talk about improving our film slate, there are really 3 approaches. One is you have to kill things you no longer believe. And that's not easy in this business. That's, David Zaslav can probably speak to that. Because either you've gotten started, you have some costs. It's a relationship with either your employees or with a creative community, and that's not an easy thing. But you got to make those tough calls. I don't think Iger is making very many tough calls, actually, as far as the creative side of things. He said, we've actually made those tough calls. We have not been that public about it. He didn't name names today either. You have to look at everything you're making that you do believe in, and you have to take a position that good is not good enough. You have to basically strive for perfection, he said during an investor conference Q&A. This is a great jumping off point here, Culture. What of Disney's recent films would you say hit that metric of perfection? Sorry, Culture, your mic seems to have cut out.
Oh, no, I was just trying to think of one that actually hit that perfect mark. It's been a long time.
Well, let's see. What about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
Yeah, that wasn't perfect.
What about Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3?
Oh, that wasn't perfect.
Well, let's get to the quote at hand, which I think is very revealing what they left out. He said the fix basically means spending a lot of time with the creators, watching these films, giving detailed notes, engaging in a respectful process that results in improvement. And actually, when I talked about being relentless, it's not letting certain things get in the way of making something great, whether it's more resources or more time. I see so many problems with this right here. First of all, watching these films, he let slip, of course, that he watches these films 5 times. Culture, you heard a different number than I did.
Well, reading some things is that 3 to 5 times he watches them, maybe 5 to 7 times. I may have heard 7. I mean, a lot of people may have heard some things in here. He definitely said somewhere between 3 and 5 times, and I have to tell you, that's too many to not realize things are bad.
Yeah, and I'll say that if you're involved in the early stages of a project, sometimes you can confuse better with good. Like if we cut this out, it'll work better, and you say, oh well, that is better. Or if we change the music here, it will be better. But that does not mean that it is something that just because you have improved it and you think you have made it better does not mean that it is in fact good. Or as Bob Iger just said, perfection. Another thing that I see a problem with here, giving detailed notes, engaging in a respectful process. That sounds like someone that might be a strike at a specific person who is no longer at the Walt Disney Company. Who would not engage in a quote unquote respectful process?
I wouldn't. Everybody has been so agreeable at Disney. I couldn't imagine one person that wasn't respectful.
There are two processes specifically that come to mind, but it's actually one process, but at 2 different companies. The Story Trust at Walt Disney Animation, which is a version of Pixar's Brain Trust. The entire intention of the Brain Trust under John Lasseter and his amazing cohort over there at Pixar, and later with the Brain Trust or Story Trust over at Disney Animation Studios was to put a no holds barred. Any criticism that could help the film was fair game, in order to say, hey, I don't think this is working here. You might be able to get more out of this if you do it this way. I think respectful is actually the problem here.
Right.
I think respectfully, a lot of your films are not up to snuff, and respectfully, you're wasting shareholder money if you are being respectful at all times when you are trying to make great commercial art. Is that fair?
It is, and so is, like, perhaps the right terminology would be brutally honest. Yeah, we need to be brutally honest with this, and then that way we're not going to throw more resources at these things, Bob, or do more reshoots, which is the coded lines in here are just amazing. Sorry.
Right. And if you look here, in a shakeup last month, Disney's Sean Bailey departed as president of Motion Picture Studios after 15 years, and Searchlight co-president David Greenbaum entered in a newly created role. So he's now in charge of Disney live action, the guy who was in charge of the live action remakes. By the way, is this institutionalizing Disney live action as a department here? Because that's actually a little bit unsettling to me.
Well, yeah,
none of these movies need to be made, even though David Greenbaum is supposedly, someone has leaked to the press that between Alan Bergman and David Greenbaum and Bob Iger, that David Greenbaum likes to say, does this movie need to exist? Of course, the answer to that is no movie needs to exist.
True. Yeah, oops. I mean, there's a lot of like faux pas recently, but look, I think it's great that we've decided to use live actors in films again. I think that's
yes,
good.
of course. You'll get to see those live actors in Mufasa, The Lion King, of course. A movie that is actually, even though it's considered a Disney live action remake, I don't think we'll be seeing much live action in this fully CG film.
I mean, are they going to eat people? I mean, that'd be interesting.
Well, that would be a more engaging story than I believe that we're going to get from. I don't have a lot of faith in the film. I'll just say that it could surprise me.
Regardless, Mr. Bailey's old savings and loan has now been demoted to I'm going to produce Tron.
Right, and I, while a lot of people did not enjoy Tron Legacy, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'd like to see a deep fake redoing of the fake Jeff Bridges face, but otherwise, I think that movie is fantastic. Now, the thing that I really want to focus on here is maybe Bob Iger doesn't need to be the person to watch these films 5 times. Maybe they need to rent like Steven Spielberg or something like that to have him watch these films 5 times.
Right, or maybe Bob Iger should be worried about running his incredibly complex company.
That's very true.
Instead of spending all day and watching rushes or whatever he's doing, because I can tell you something, his involvement hasn't improved the film's one iota since returning. Or I'm going to assume that he was doing this before he left, and I'm going to say that he probably spent between the balance of his days, he probably spent watching films and showering, and that's not what you need to do as the CEO of a company. He should be seeing these films one time at the premiere when they're, opening in California at the El Capitan or somewhere else around the globe. That should be the only time this guy sees these movies. He should be far more focused on other things.
And I would say this, Bob, if you happen to be listening to us right now, if your presence is what is improving these films, you need to fire all of the people involved in those films, because they need to be the ones that are capable of producing a great film without some guy who has been a business executive and did some weather and did some sports coverage. This is just a ridiculous idea that you are the person that needs to make these films great. You are not a creative executive. You are an executive that happens to be in charge of creative people. You need to hire people who are capable of doing this job without you. All right. Well, that being said, Bob, please like this video if you appreciated what I just said. I have a feeling you didn't, but leave a comment, Bob, if you have anything you would like to say. And of course, Bob, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news. That should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.